Recording in progress.
Now AI pops up every time you do it. Okay, I believe we're ready. Yeah. So just a couple housekeeping things before we start. The intent on the back table was there were a few minutes, there were a few audit reports. We were hoping you read all of that online. So if you didn't and you have a copy, pass it around for somebody who wants to. So anyway, we'll get started here. Let me get the arrow on the right screen. Yeah, the arrow has to be here. The slides do not advance. So welcome, and Pastor will lead us in an opening prayer.
I wasn't expecting this. The Lord be with you. Let us pray. Good and gracious God, we give you thanks for all that you have entrusted us with. This past year, we have sought to serve your will in our community and in our congregation. We ask you to continue to create in us a spirit of generosity, a spirit of kindness and compassion, a spirit to serve you and the most vulnerable in our world. Continue to strengthen us in our faith and our service. We pray this in Jesus' name. Amen. Amen.
So remember to put the platform down next time. Okay, so
If you turn that thing on, just where it says on your screen, it says turn on. Just click that button. Or click the X. It's in our way. There you go. Oh, there he is. Thank you.
yeah, again, like I said, AI constantly is popping up all kinds of things now. So anyway, we'll review the agenda here quick. So basically, we're going to verify there's a quorum, and I think Phil.
Is everybody signed in?
Okay. Yeah, so it was looking like it was over 50 some people, and
55.
Yeah, 55. I certainly appreciate everyone attending.
Does that count, Lori?
Yes.
55. Yeah. So we'll approve the minutes from our May 25 meeting, 18th meeting. There'll be updates on our finances from Mike Snowden. Mike's going to also present our budget. The new business. Free in our future to serve. Randy's going to present information on that. The audit committee report, approve the nominating committee members, and then we're going to approve the amendments to the Constitution. And then there is a request in council that committee members want to come up here and recruit members. So be ready. And when we get to the nominating committee, I'm going to be asking for recruits there too, because you're going to find out it's only half filled. So anyway, that's our agenda. So the adoption of the minutes, again, from May 18th, 2025. Anyone finding, I can certainly bring them up on Zoom and share screen if you want. But anyone find any corrections? Because according to Robert rules, if there's no corrections, we just adopt them. We don't even need a motion. So any corrections? Okay, they're adopted as written. Financial report. Mike, you're on. So yeah, just advanced here.
Okay. I had not anticipated starting this meeting this way. Oh,
Okay. Yeah. I hadn't anticipated starting the meeting this way, but in my defense, JT started it. How about those Seahawks? I just had a conversation with Randy, and neither one of us expected what happened. We did kind of expect that they'd win, but the fact that they won so out of this world was great. Anytime you hear me say, I think, in the meeting, when I'm talking about the budget, it means that I've looked at stuff, I have done some planning, but until it happens, or until the Seahawks played the game, we don't know, I don't know if it will be that. So just anytime you hear me use that word, I think, that's what I'm getting at. As the treasurer, I have a script here because I tend to ramble. And in Debbie's defense, she hasn't previewed it, so if there's anything in there that...
And I usually do.
Yeah. As the treasurer, I look at a lot of numbers throughout the year, and especially this time of the year when putting together the budget. And I sometimes need a reminder of what all of these numbers represent. Our ministry of programs includes everything involved with our worship services and more. A lot of what JT does as pastor centers around the worship service. Here he is telling kids a story during story time on Sunday. He's a big part of our ministry of education also when he meets with text study and the confirmation class. And I'm kind of going over all this because we have I got told I had forgotten something. We have a really tiny budget for things like worship and whatnot, but we have to remember that there's a whole lot of of what we pay in staff and services that goes to the people who do that. So just kind of remember that that's where we're paying for these things. Susan is a big part of our Sunday services, playing the piano for hymns in the choir. I would have had a picture of Randy up here, but it's been too soon since he became choir director, so I don't have it. We are very lucky to have people with their talents that are going to help and do our worship services. Susan also is involved in the planning of the services as well. And up there somewhere, there's Cindy. Everyone knows Cindy Beals is the first one you usually meet when coming into the church during the week. Cindy's also part of worship on Sundays since she puts together and prints the bulletin. For those of you that have viewed a stream service, she's the one that puts all the things together that go in there, the hymns, the announcements, the pictures and all that. She puts that in there. Cindy's also an important part of the administration here at Agnus Dei. She's often the first one that people go to when they have a question. I know that there's a lot of questions I have of her, and I go and ask them, okay, what did we do here? She's also the one who puts together and sends out our Thursday emails and monthly newsletters. I apparently wrote this part at one point when I was looking backwards because I had to go and change it to the lady in the lower right corner is Cindy Hart. On Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday, you might see Cindy, although you might have to peek into the finance office where she spends most of her time. She's our financial services associate and is tasked with entering all transactions into QuickBooks and reconciling all accounts each month, preparing all of the reports that I need, making sure payroll for both Agnus Dei and Little Lambs is completed each month, keeping track of all the church records, and generally, at church at least, keeping me in line. Actually, I would not be able to do this job without her, so that's there. Another part of our administrative services area, keeps the church up and running. It supplies all the paper, printing, copying, paper clips that are needed in the office. It also maintains the building with heating, water, cleaning services, and other maintenance-related items. This way we have a building where we can meet for worship service, the knitters, the quilters, tech study, even community organizations. They have a place to meet. And, that's important. And by the way, the picture on the left is what the community, if you haven't had a chance to see it recently, that's what the community room looks like after the property team finished cleaning up the outback and moving the furniture around. Okay, and this is the monthly summary that goes into the newsletter every month. And one of the things that I want you to understand, first of all, is you see this one you will see in January, but it goes back to the end of December. So when you see them in the newsletter, they're about 1 month late. Anyway, let's see how we did this year by looking at the monthly summary. When you first see the summary, it might look overwhelming with so many numbers. So I would like to tell you a story that illustrates a little bit how to make some sense out of that, especially for a lot of people that aren't used to budgets and looking at stuff like that. I was at church the other day, and a friend of mine who I hadn't seen for some time and showed up, and we had a conversation. And in the conversation, he shared that he still gets the newsletter, and and this is what he said: the first thing I do is look at the one number that tells me how Agnus Dei is doing. That number is the one at the bottom of the first column. Well, here I've highlighted it for you. That number is the net operating income in the rectangle of the February-December actual column. And that you can't quite see, but that actual is way up there at the top, and it's a little bit covered up by that green arrow. If that number is positive, it means we have more income than our expenses for the year. So all that information is cumulative, and it's where we were at the end of December. If that number is positive, if that number is positive, we are in good shape. If it's negative, like the 44,540 that we have there, it means that we've spent that much more during the year than we have had income. And it's not a good sign, obviously. So if you want to know how the church is doing financially, you can go to that one number right there, and it will tell you. If it's a positive number, we're in good shape. If it's a negative number, we have some work to do. The number above the red rectangle, in this case the one that says 505,019, that number, it tells what our total expenses are. And if you go the next, I think it's 6, those 6 numbers in the white above it, those explain where the expenses were. What was the section, what was the part? You can kind of get an idea of where things are. If you would, if you want more information for anything like this, anytime during the week, if you are, after we get out of the meeting, this is my contact information right here. I realized that if I just got up and said it, nobody'd have a chance to figure out what I had said or remember it. So if you have questions about anything with the finance, you can call that number or you can email. I'm much better with emails and explaining things that way than probably on a phone call, but either way will work. Let's see. If you look at nothing else when this report comes out, please go to that one number in red and look at that and see how we are doing. That section in purple is basically a simpler form of the one I just went over, except it's only for the month of December. And that right now is the most positive thing I have, because if you look right there, we had an amazing December. The unrestricted offering that came in was $92,395. It is the most in any one month since I've been treasurer. So that's some good news there. Okay. This chart is my prediction. So we go back to the Seahawks. You don't know what it's going to be until they play the game. We won't know if that is correct until the end of, in this case, January. This is what I think is going to happen in January, and I need to have that to make up the budget for the following year. There's some information I need, so I have to do that each year. And I look at, I'm getting off the script, so I'm probably going to ramble, so I'll go back to that. The chart shows what I think, and the emphasis is on the word think, will happen in January and where we will be financially at the end of our fiscal year. To do this, I looked at what our income has looked like during January in the last 3 or 4 years, what our monthly expenses have been this year. Unless there's something unusual, the event of the expenses have been somewhere between $45,000 and $50,000 each month. Okay. The top part of the chart shows what I think will. I just said that. So I will skip that part. The unrestricted offering is the important part there. That's the money that we use to pay that. Okay. So, at the end of the month, I figure if everything goes the way it has in the past, we'll be about $108 spent. Yeah, short, which is, yeah. Okay. This is this chart summarizes the proposed budget being presented today. For anyone who wants more, I have 2 things. You can either contact me or over on the table with Debbie, there's a itemized part of the budget, which I won't be going over because of time. The top section shows where the money to pay the expenses come from. Although it says income at the top, all of the funds are not really income. I don't expect to get enough in the unrestricted offering. The part that will make up for that is money that we already have. We still have a little bit of cash left over from previous years. We will probably use that up this year. We will also need to use some of our operating reserve funds. Those are monies that we already have. They're not truly income because we already have it. Let's see. The lower chart summarizes the areas into which our expenses are divided. Staff and services makes up the largest part of the expenses, although we should remember, and that was what all the pictures were about, that our staff plays a large part in our 3 ministries, and it is staff and services that pay for them. Administrative expenses are the next largest area, with our mortgage payment making up the largest part at about $87,000 in the coming year. Proposing a negative budget like this one is something that no one should be happy about, and we will not be able to continue to do this much longer. If expenses do not decrease significantly or income does not increase, The only funds remaining will be in restricted accounts that we can't use to pay expenses. Those restricted accounts are like the Agnus Dei Endowment Fund, the Sabbatical and Continuing Education Reserves, and food backpacks for kids. Those are monies that are specifically for those things, either by donation, where people designated that, or things that we will need to, in our budget, to meet the continuing ed or the sabbatical in a few years. If income doesn't increase or expenses decrease, we will be in trouble financially in about 20 months, or somewhere around September of 2028. So we need to keep that in mind. And again, this is all what I think. Just like the Seahawks have to play the game, we need to make sure that we are keeping track of this and that we can know what we need to do. And with that,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, on the endowment fund, why is that restricted? For example, many of us, me included, when I die, there's gonna be money to go to the endowment. So isn't that usable when there's trouble?
I can.
yeah. The endowment committee can answer that.
Yeah. So the endowment fund is really restricted for grants. So it's very specific. You could not use it for operating expenses that you just see up here. So, so again, the endowment fund is really encouraged to send unrestricted money into the fund, but you could do designated funds also. So if you designated funds to a certain cause, then if that cause is happening, that money would go there. If it's not, it basically sits there for a year, and then the endowment fund has to reallocate it.
So
That's
personalize it. Any individual that dies and has money coming here, if the individual that's died and left money needs to put it in an unrestricted way, then. Is that correct?
Julie.
A quick answer to that, which Gary, you might also say, when monies are left to the church, what the Constitution requires is that a small percentage of that goes into the endowment fund. It does not all go into the endowment fund. Only a small percentage or a percentage that the person has written in their will. But you don't need to be concerned,
Right.
no one needs to be concerned that if you leave money to the church, that it's all going to go into the endowment.
Okay, thanks, Julie.
Only
Yeah.
if you designate it to the endowment will it go into the endowment.
Right.
Okay.
You have to specify that.
You are so.
So, Luis, we can hear you. If you can, mute your microphone on your laptop or your iPad. So, okay, yeah. So again, the endowment. There's lots of flexibility. Yeah. And you're going to hear another opportunity coming up here in a minute. So stay tuned. So, just a second. I want to see if I can get rid of this.
That's excellent.
So again, other questions on the budget? Just to be clear, I'll show this. Okay, well, unfortunately, the arrow doesn't work up here, but this is a negative deficit budget only because that 48,823 is coming from reserves. So that's the deficit budget we're voting on. So, but any other questions on the budget presentation? Or even the finances for this fiscal year, since Mike went through everything. So if there's no questions, I'll receive a motion to adopt the budget as presented here by Mike. Okay, so There's a motion and a second. Okay. We don't need names. Yeah. Robert's rule just wants a motion and a second. Any other questions now that we have a motion on that?
Yeah, I have a question. How much money is in the operating reserve that we're pulling out the 48,000?
Yeah. Yeah, so it's again, if you got the complete balance sheet, it shows a lot more than what is really there because some of it's already designated, but it's around 80,000. So that's why Mike is saying probably at 28. If we don't remove this deficit, we're going to basically run out of reserves. Yeah. So.
Currently, before that happens, we have, in the operating reserve is about 27,000. There's also, there's a lot of money that came in December, and it's in the cash from previous years. Those two things are, there's a total there of about the 80,000, I think,
Yeah.
what Gary said.
Right.
The reason it looks kind of odd is the money between what was already here and what we got in December kind of mixed in there, and that's why the numbers are the way they are. We have about 80,000,
Yeah.
and then before that.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, seeing none, I'll do the vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstain? Okay, the motion passes. Thank you. So the next thing on the agenda is a presentation. Well, let's get the arrow on the screen. A presentation from Randy, Freeing Our Future to Serve.
This is the forward button.
Oh, yeah, just that one.
Got it.
Yeah,
Okay.
if you hit the mouse, the arrow could disappear.
Yeah, so Freeing Our Future to Serve, that's a campaign that we have that we're proposing. The council adopted it this week, Tuesday. Let me tell you a little bit about it. So I'm going back to budget and talking about what's there. So if you break this down a little further than what Mike did, you'll notice that 64% of our money is salaries and benefits. So when we're talking about trying to close this gap, one of the things that you can do, really, there's only two things you can do: increase income or cut expenses. And you can see that most of our expenses are in two places. One is people, and I don't think we want to cut anybody here. All those things are pretty vital for what we do here. And secondly, is this mortgage payments is the next 15.5%. So we're putting out $87,000 right now in round numbers a year on that. The rest of them this year are pretty small. Administrative expenses minus the mortgage is only 13%. We are mission support, that goes to ELCA, various places, 6%. Education programs is only 3.5%. Not much of our budget. So out of that 561, you see where those numbers are, and that's where we're really focusing on. That's what the council talked about. There's our opportunity to make this up. So what are we talking about? Well, there's two things. One is we have a short-term goal to reduce our annual mortgage payments as much as possible, as soon as possible. And second, our 5-year goal is to eliminate our debt entirely. Now, to put that in perspective, I'll give you some numbers here. So how much will paying down our mortgage save? About $1,000 per $100,000 that we reduce it. Now that's a round number, it's not exact. A lot depends on interest rates and terms of the loan and so forth. But you can see the numbers here. So we're right now at a little under $690,000 that we owe. You can see what the payment is. You go down, you can see what happens. So if we meet our goal to reduce to 0 in 5 years, it allows us to be free to serve. What do we mean by that? We're not servicing debt, we're servicing people. We're servicing our mission here. And that makes, that to our council seem to make a lot of sense. So again, all those numbers are really rounded off. They're not even close to exact, but it gives you an idea. So how do we get there? That's the question. So I just laid out, this is typical fundraising 101. How do you raise this kind of money? Well, you divide it into categories. So if we can find 30 people to give $500, Well, that's $15,000, 1,000 people, $1,000, 25 folks, and you can see the numbers. We can get to that $690,000. You can see, though, that we do need some fairly larger gifts. Now, where are those likely to come from? Somebody brought it up earlier. Probably when I die, right? So I make some kind of bequest. It comes out of either my life insurance or some other asset, or some people might have appreciated stock that they don't really want to sell because they're going to take a big tax hit for doing that. So we'll gladly accept appreciated stock because we get the stepped up value, the organization that receives it, and we don't have to pay tax on it. We get the value, and the person giving it doesn't have to pay the tax. It's a sweet deal, both for the giver and for us. So that's how we get there. So we're talking about 90 people in this congregation, or giving units is kind of what we use in the finance area. 90 units in this congregation giving roughly these amounts. Is this what it's going to be? Of course not. But it gives you a pretty good idea of how do we get there. Now, is that a tall order? You bet it is. Retiring $700,000 of debt in 5 years is no small change. And we realize that. We want to make sure you understand that too. So, how do you make a gift? Well, there are 4 different ways. You can see what they are. We would accept gifts to the campaign anytime, in any amount, any way that you want. It doesn't have to be $500 or $100. We'll accept it. It's fine. It could be gifts of cash or appreciated stock. I've already talked about it. And you can even specify how you want to give it. If you want to space it out over a period of time, I'd like to give this much now and this much later, or I'd like to give monthly, or I'd like to give annually. Any way that you like. And those gifts we were talking about, where does that money go, are given for the purpose of mortgage deduction only and may not be used for any other purpose until and unless we paid off that amount. And if for some reason people have just flooded us with gifts, then we have this happy circumstance of having to decide what to do with that money. Now, believe it or not, we've been there, and not that long ago. So when we did, we were able to do some things around here that we previously were not able to do. We were free to serve in a way that this congregation had not been. I've been a member of this congregation now, Lori and I, about 25 years. And we've seen the ups and downs. Those who've been around in any congregation, you've seen that, the ups and downs. So our hope is that we'll get to the point where that's where we are again. One of the things that this congregation has, probably more than any other that I've served in, is the spirit of generosity here is just overwhelming. The response that people have done, remember the Above and Beyond campaign? What was that, 15 years ago? We were shooting for, 75,000. We got double that. It was just amazing. So that's where we are. So, to summarize, what's next? Well, you can make a gift anytime, just make it payable to the Mortgage Retirement Fund. You could write a check today. We'd be happy to do it. Mike will accept your check today. We're going to have a kickoff dinner sometime in April, and I want to hold a short meeting with our committee. That's me and Gary and Debbie and who else? Lynette, yeah. And we'll figure out the date that it's going to be in April, because she's got a little surgery coming up, and we want to make sure we don't schedule that kickoff event sometime during her surgery. And then we're going to have, you remember, if you were around during the Above and Beyond, we're going to do house meetings, very much in the same way. We're going to have this is in small groups of 10 to a dozen people or so. We meet at homes. We talk about what the need is, and we just explain why we're doing it. So we're going to do both of those things. We'll have a kickoff dinner first, followed by house meetings that will happen in the April to July period. And then when we hit milestones, listen, it doesn't make any sense for us to go to the bank and say we'd like to pay down our mortgage until we hit at least $100,000, because they don't want to talk to us. And what we're going to be asking them to do is not just paying down the amount that we owe and the payment doesn't change. Our objective is to lower our payment. Well, that means a refi, okay? So we want to have enough money that it makes it worthwhile, because there are some costs for refis. You've done this before, to get our number down so we can bring down that payment by $1,000 or $2,000 or $3,000. You can see that in the short term, that doesn't solve our $40,000 shortfall that we have projected for this year, but in 5 years we can be there. So that's the idea. That's what we're doing. The council has authorized that we're going to kick this off in April. We wanted you to know about it. We're kind of excited about it. I'm excited about freeing us up to serve. I hope that you will be too. So that's it. Any questions at all? Yes, sir.
So, Randy, I think what concerns me is that we're now asking for two flows of funds from members of the congregation.
We are.
How to balance the mixture of those flows of funds, I think, is a critical issue.
It is. So, number one, we want to make it very clear that we do not want you to change your monthly giving, because if you do that, we're in deep trouble right away. So please don't do this. We're talking about money that you feel that you have the capacity and are able to give, I'll use the old term, above and beyond that. So if you're able and you have the capacity and your heart's there to do it, we're looking for that money. If you don't, please, you are under absolutely no obligation to participate. If you don't have the funds to do it, don't do it. Keep giving what you're giving, because that's what keeps the doors open here and the lights on. That answer your question? Okay. Any other questions? Gary?
Yeah, I think another important item in this campaign is our mortgage is going to be refinanced in August, September timeframe this year. And we're not sure how much it's going up. It's in Mike's budget. It's a projection, but it could be around $1,000 depending upon where interest rates go. So hope they go down, because our previous mortgage, the interest rates 7 years ago were a lot lower. So again, ideally, we raise a lot of money by August so we can pay our mortgage down in this refinance. So, yeah.
Why are we doing a refinance? And why is that automatic?
Yeah, because it was set up as an adjustable rate mortgage, and it runs out after 7 years. Yeah. Go ahead.
There will be a line, I assume, entirely that is for this.
I'm not a tithely expert. Bob Nussbaum is there.
He can do that.
I think you.
If I'm asked to put a category in there, we'll put a category in.
Yeah.
That's easy.
Let's see if I can. So, yeah, other questions? Okay, yeah, Darryl.
When I look at, what we are doing, trying to do financially as a group of people, one of my concerns is we continue to pray on behalf of poor and homeless people, that God would care for them. How does God care for us? Is there something that we should begin focusing in on? How can we develop funds or programs or whatever to actually care for homeless people and starving?
Yeah, well, again, I think that's the foundation of this program, is to free up the albatross that we have in these negative budgets so we can spend additional money for Fish Food Bank or other human causes in the community. We're not there right now. We have this deficit to deal with. So, yeah. So anyway, again, I want to reemphasize, if you can't give to this program, that's fine. Continue giving to the operation budget, because we don't want that to go upside down. So anyway, yeah, so stay tuned for more information on the kickoffs. Any other questions? Okay. So the audit committee was doing yeoman's work because they had to do 2 years, 23 and 24, and it was Paula Davis, Ann Rosso, and Linda Ryberry that did this work. And so I'm just going to hit a few highlights. Again, there were some copies back there if you want a complete report, or again, on the Thursday e-news, that complete report is in there. So again, it covered these 2 years to do catch-up. Again, the only thing I'm covering is these findings. Basically all the assets and liabilities recorded in the congregation's books and records appear to be supported by the appropriate independent documents, which is great, bank statements and vendor invoices. All general ledger balances are appropriately reconciled to the underlying assets and liabilities, and they're done in a timely manner. Another important thing, all necessary insurance policies are in place, and we just went through that renewal this week where our insurance was updated. Expenses are appropriately approved and supported by corresponding documentation. That's important, and controls over payroll processes are in place for the staff here in the Little Lambs. And then a couple of recommendations, again, if you want to read the complete report. But again, I'm just highlighting a couple here. The committee strongly recommends that we institute in the Constitution requirements of the duties of all elected and appointed positions be clearly defined as continuing resolutions that are attached to the Constitution. Once this process is completed, persons nominated to the position should be given appropriate job descriptions and duties in a personalized letter complete with information regarding the date their service begins and ends. So this isn't a big task, because actually a year plus ago, we got all the committee chairs together and we asked them to write job descriptions. And so they exist. We just need to make them continuing resolutions. So that's good, because again, you're going to be asked to serve on some committees here shortly. And so those job descriptions can be shared with you. And then number 6 is important with the freeing our finances to serve in the future, because we repeat our encouragement of the Congregation Council on their work to develop and fund a plan to cover major capital expenses such as those required to replace the roof, mechanical systems, and so forth as their life expectancy ends. And we did some investigating on putting solar on the roof, $200,000 to replace the roof. So that gives you an idea. We pay off the mortgage. Hopefully in 10 to 12 years, the shingles will still be good, because that's how much it's going to cost, plus the inflation. So again, we have some of that right now in reserve funds, but again, as you see the deficit budget, that could be tapped. So those are a couple of the highlights I wanted to hit there. But again, any questions if you had a chance to read it? But those are the ones I wanted to highlight. And again, a great big thank you to Paula Davis, Linda Ryberry, and Ann Broso. And I'll just put in a plug. The council has to fill these audit committee positions, and Ann Roso's position and Paula, they've been serving for multiple years, so we'll be asking if they want to continue. There's no term limits on this committee. So, okay, so the next thing on the agenda is election of nominating committee members. And this is part of the Constitution. In this meeting, we elect the nominating committee members, which the Constitution says it's 6 people. It's the people going off of council, which are Guy Johnson and Joy McCraw. And so far, the only person we've been able to recruit on the committee is Heidi Giles. And so you see there's to be named 3 positions. So if you want to serve on the nominating committee, I'll put out an appeal. You can raise your hand and we'll add you to the list here. But the good news about the nominating committee is it's a short-term responsibility. You'll be done in May of this year. So what you have to do is recruit people for council, which there's 2 openings. You have to recruit people for Little Lambs Board, which there's 2 openings. And you have to recruit for members of the endowment committee, which there's 3 openings. The good news is, hopefully the people on the endowment committee will agree to serve additional terms. And the same thing with Little Lambs. So hopefully it'll get down to, you just have to recruit for 2 council positions. So, and again, that's basically the duties. Once you recruit those people, you send the information to the council, and then in our May meeting, they're elected. So, oh, well, yeah, the other thing is you can only serve 1 year, and that's by the Constitution. So I know all the people who were on it last year, I couldn't ask them again. So anyway, anybody want to be on the nominee committee after that pitch? Raise your hands. Okay, so what'll happen is I need a motion to accept the 3 people up there, and the council will have to continue recruiting and fill the position hopefully by March so the committee can start their work and have nominees by the May meeting. So is there a motion to accept those 3? Okay. Second? Okay. Any other questions? Last minute, raise your hand. Okay. All in favor of these? Opposed? Abstain? Okay, thank you. Amendments to the Constitution. So what happens with our Constitution in the ELCA is practically every 3 years this is going to happen. So the Churchwide Assembly met in Phoenix this past August. I guess it was late July, part of August. And they always make amendments to the Constitution. The Constitution of the congregations, the Constitution of the Senate, and the Constitution of Churchwide. There's 3 constitutions. And so their mandate is you have to accept their changes, especially, as you're going to see here in a second, anything that has an asterisk by the section, like C504, you have no choice. You have to accept it. So I'm not going to go through this whole Constitution. Again, it was sent out electronically. There's only 2 areas I'm going to cover because we have no say in this. C.102 is one of the examples where you could change it, but they added continuing resolutions, which is perfectly fine because that's part of the Constitution. But you can see going through this, I made a couple of changes spelling out Southwestern Washington Synod. I think there were 2 places where it was abbreviated. Everywhere else in the Constitution, it was fully spelled out, so I kept it consistent. So, but the area I want to mention, because it's not asterisk, went too fast, is right here. Chapter 10, you can see C10.02, they recommended that congregation members can, voting members, and again, a voting member in the congregation, you have to be, go through the membership process and be accepted, because we have a lot of people in the congregation that aren't voting members, so they can't vote. But they recommended that we change, in the current Constitution, it says 15 people could call a special meeting. They recommended it be changed to a percentage. So the council reviewed this, and we're recommending to you that it's 10%. And to give you an idea, we have about 120, 30 members of the congregation. So that would be like 13 people. And the reason they changed it to a percentage is, believe it or not, 80% of the congregations in the ELCA worship 50 or less people. So if you have 50 members, it's 5. So they want that flexible scale. So the council's recommending it's 10. So, and then there was one other place in the Constitution in 16.01, it has, again, 15 members there. And again, we just changed it to 10%. So if they want to make a proposal of the Constitution of the church. So basically, that's it. I need a motion to accept all these changes to the Constitution. Second? Okay, second. So any questions?
I do.
Yeah.
So if it's a mandatory thing, why do we even vote on it?
Because the process is we update this, the Constitution then has to be sent to the Senate, and they have to review it and approve it.
I misunderstood you. I thought it was mandatory, period.
Oh, well, yeah, it's mandatory. You have to change it. Yeah, there's no choice. But
Gary, it says in the Constitution that any changes have to be voted on by the congregation.
Yeah.
So
That makes sense.
so,
could I ask you to go back to the last slide that you had? The one with lots of red on it. So, everybody here knows, I will always make a pitch for having language that talks about including, recognizing, respecting, for people of all abilities, so that you include people with disabilities. It gets overlooked, and people, I can tell you all, people with disabilities continue to be discriminated against in every walk of life, in every part of our lives. And it would be lovely to be addressing that. If not this time, I would encourage the council to consider making that, adding that at some point as one of the really, I consider, a responsibility of the church.
yeah, so in this case, this is an asterisk one that comes from churchwide. So the process there would be you would have to work with churchwide to make that change. So the secretary of the ELCA, you would have to basically get their ear and
We as a congregation could vote to add something. We can't change it, but we could add something. At least that's how it used to be. That would acknowledge that population.
yeah. Well, again, we would have to explore that because this is the rostered ministers section. And rostered ministers, they pretty much have control over that process. Yeah, so, Steve.
One approach might be to accept the wording as it exists now and provide a recommendation back to add a clause in future consideration.
Yeah, well, again, that's basically what I was saying. You'd have to recommend some additional wording here. And again, I think they listened because this was updated here. So, other questions?
Can we make that recommendation as part of the motion? As a part of the motion? The part that you were saying, that recommend that they consider that, can we put that in there?
I think we need to work with the Senate and better understand the whole process. And then we can bring it back in May because they're not going to have, this isn't going to change until 2028. That's the next time churchwide assembly meets, I believe, in Ohio. And they have 3 years to cogitate over this change. So there's plenty of time.
Is there a place in the part of the Constitution that we have control over that we could add some wording for that?
Well, again, we have to investigate it. That's all I can say.
This is a semantic term, but could marginalized as sort of marginalized be acceptable to
Encompass that No, it's not recognized. Marginalized people do not think in terms of people with disabilities when we talk about it. I would be happy, after you vote on this, to make another motion that this congregation consider talking with the Senate and determining how our Constitution could be amended to address including people with disabilities.
Yeah, because
rather than it being part of this.
right, that's a more appropriate process because we have to investigate and see what the right process is. There's resolutions and there's memorials, and yeah.
I just think that's worth looking into and proceeding.
Yeah, not saying we're not. It's just, this is an asterisk. So, other questions? Okay, we'll take the vote. All in favor, say aye.
What is the motion now?
Accept the Constitution. That was the motion on the floor. Abstain. Okay. The motion carries. Or nays. I didn't say, are there any nays? Okay. So the motion carries. So Julie.
I'd like to make a motion that the State Lutheran Church investigate and discuss with the Synod, take any steps necessary to be able to include in our Constitution at least, but also recommend that it go all the way up to church-wide, that people of all abilities be included as a population that we should be bigger in justice and equity. You can word it, I didn't word that perfectly, but you get the.
I'll come talk to you afterwards to make sure I have the.
Okay.
Exact.
So yeah, I was going to ask Debbie, you got that all
Yeah,
down?
I'll do that.
I'll second that.
Okay, second. Okay, additional questions? Okay, hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Abstain? Okay, the motion carries. Okay, this is committee chairs. Well, before I get into the committee chairs coming up and asking for members to serve on their committees, again, one of the items in the back on the table was a summary of the time and talent signups for this year and 2024. And if you look at those, it does have people who signed up for serving on various committees. So I ask for just a second. There was this colored document in the back. I asked Cindy Beal to send this out to all the committee chairs. But this is where you need to start. And one of the things you're probably going to see is another attempt at time and talent. Because what happened during the stewardship campaign this past fall is we were intending a Sunday or Sundays where the time and talent sheet was sent in the bulletin so you all had a chance to sit down and fill it out. So it didn't happen. And so what's disappointing in here is if you look under ushers, there's 2. I know there's a lot more people ushering than 2. So if you're ushering, sign up on the time and talent sheet. So this exists. Yeah.
Yeah, just an idea. I'm wondering, because I didn't do a time and talent sheet. I'm just wondering if there could be like a master copy somewhere in the office where we could just write names in, and then nobody has to collate it again later.
This is the master. I collated it. It was pretty easy.
Yeah, do it that way, because some people still don't do paper.
Yeah, well, we'll have to discuss that. That gets pretty complicated too. Because
Book club on there, and Linda is a head honcho, and she's not even on the list.
well, again, like I said, we were hoping that everybody had a chance to fill this out, and it didn't happen, so names are missing. So anyway, yeah, if there's some master approach and people can sign up, we can plaster these 15 copies across the wall, and you can sign up on the wall, I guess. So.
If we interrupt our church service, if we pass one around during the service?
Well, again, the intent was during the stewardship campaign, the time and talent was given in the bulletin, and at the end of the service, you had a chance to fill it out and just drop it in the basket. It wasn't very complicated. So I think we can do that again, and then we can update this. And again, I really encourage you, if you're doing something, put it on the time and talent sheet. So anyway, any members want to come up here and recruit members? Mike's going to recruit for a treasurer position.
Actually, I am. The process Julie, how long did it take before you finally got somebody to say yes to be a treasurer? How many months was that?
That would be years.
About 30. Okay. That's not a good length of time. What I would like to see is if we had somebody who would be interested in being treasurer and they would join the finance committee, or if it's somebody on the committee, and they could start the process of figuring out what the treasurer does and what they need to do. That would be great. And anybody who wants to be on the finance committee, we would also accept members. But we're looking for somebody that will make a transition whenever that is. Debbie asked me if I was tired of being the treasurer on the way here today. I'm not, but at some point I will need to move on, and we'd like to have somebody in place to do that. Kind of like I won't go into that. Vice President goes, no.
Okay.
Include we get a tie.
Gwen.
Yes, we'll pass, I'll buy you a bow tie.
I just asked.
When he's ready.
How about bigger bow ties though?
Let me put the platform down.
Yeah, I'm not quite that tall. I mean, speaking on half of the care team, and to let you all know, you are part of the care team. If you attend this church, you're part of the care team. A lot of things go on this church that don't go through the care team that is titled the care team. Wonderful, that's part of the care team. But if you're interested in joining the care team, it's divided into people that would give meals, people that would do visitations or whatever, and transportations. For instance, I'm the head of the transportation team. Anybody in the congregation that needs transportation emails me. I send it out to my team. Someone always picks it up. Transportation to doctors, to grocery stores, whatever they need. So if you're interested in being on one of the leaders' team, keep doing what all you're doing. It doesn't have to go through us. But for one of the places we need is usually meals. So Ann Rousseau is the head of that. The cards are all out there. Pick one up, call her, and tell her you'll be on that. If she gets a request for meals, the team that she has gets a notification through the email. We have requests for these meals. You sign up through there. You may go 3 months with never being asked. So you're just saying if needed, you'll be there. But there's lots that people doing that without going through the care team. It's wonderful. You don't have to go through the care team.
Two times on a mic in one day, that's a record. Hospitality, again, a plug for doing coffee hour, but for the hospitality, quote, team, right now it consists on a regular basis of Linda Ryberry, myself, and Lynette Brenton. That doesn't mean we do everything. That means that we make sure things get done. Anybody want to join us with that? We would love to have that. The other thing is memorial. We've had memorial committees kind of off and on for things. Right now, how it's working is that if a memorial comes up, they're coming to me. I set it up as far as getting people to do things, like bring cookies, serve, clean up, and that seems to be working right now just fine. Anyone wants to join in helping me do that, please feel free. Also, in reference to that, if I call and ask you for cookies and to bring cookies or something and you don't want to do it, just tell me no, it's okay, I'll take you off. I have a list of names that used to be on that. I have a few that came through time and talent sheet. I'll try to collate that, and as we go along, I'll get more people or purge you if you don't wish to do that. I know that some people, that's just too much for them to do, and that's fine. It's okay to tell me no. I'll only cry for a little bit.
So, Forum Committee. We have an amazing Forum Committee. They're creative people, they're dedicated, they're willing to teach, but there is a limit to what we can do, and we think that it's positive to hear from other people, both inside the congregation and somebody out in society. So yes, if you're a creative person, if you like teaching, anything like that, we would love to have you on our committee. But we also would just love to have you come and present one Sunday on something that's near and dear to your heart. Maybe it's a trip you took. Neil Vandervoort did one. Well, he's on our committee, but he had a trip in Spain and Portugal where he went through some gorgeous cathedrals. Linda Olson did one once. And so if you, or maybe you have a family member or a friend or an organization you belong to that does good work, caring for people, helping out in the world, suggest them to us or ask them, would you ever want to come to a forum and just present your work to the people of this church? For outside speakers that aren't presenting on behalf of, say, the synod, or we had Pierce County in here, but just somebody who's presenting their own work, we can give them a small stipend if that helps. But the forum committee members cover about half of our forums, and so we need 16 to 20 people not on the committee to say, hey, I had this great idea, or I went to this great program, or I know an author, or I know a person, to give us an expanded sense of possible ways to hold the forum. So you can let me know, or anyone on the forum committee, who is Phil Waite, Heidi Giles, Carol Dana, Neil Vandervoorn, or even JT. He attends, and he's an amazing addition to finding some of these other people. So if you can, we'd be interested.
So I guess I need to step up here. Good morning. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Bob Beals. And I am a member, co-chair member, Bob Nussbaum and I, the properties team. We are currently now we're starting to have our meetings the first Friday of the month here at church, as opposed to doing the Zoom thing, because it's a whole lot easier for us to walk around and look at the things that need to be done. The things that the properties committee does is all the things that you really don't see. It's taking care of the lawn, it's taking care of things on the roof. It's lights that don't work, toilets that don't flush, you name it, that's what we do. And so we would really appreciate if anybody, and this is for men and women, it doesn't, anybody that has the ability and the talent and the drive and the willingness to come and help. If we have more people on the list, it alleviates one or two of us having to do all those things. And on top of that, we also are running the streaming system. That is something that I would love to share with other people here, because we have a very limited number of people who can run that equipment. It's far easier than you would think. It has its challenges, and occasionally we have issues, but we are a good group of people that, whenever, if I'm working, Bob Nussbaum's kind of watching over my shoulder. Mike Snowden is another one who, we help each. It's Mike's fault or it's Bob. We always just say that it's just Bob's fault, so it makes it easy. But with that being said, if you are at all interested either in streaming or helping out with the goings on around the church, please contact me or Bob Nussbaum, and we'll put you on the list, and we'd love to have you.
And if you're interested in streaming, contact me, because I schedule people and I can get you scheduled for training.
Thanks.
So anyone else? Okay, well, I want to shout out a big thank you to everybody who is volunteering on committees and helping property clean up and make our ministries thrive here. So it's it's a challenge, as you saw. I can't even get 3 nominating committee members. So keep thinking about it. And I'm around most Sundays, so come and say you want to be on the nominating committee. So that's pretty much it. We're adjourned. And we don't even need a motion for that. Pray. Okay, yeah,